All right, so as soon as we finish, we finished our, listen up. So we finished our kite here. So this is what it should look like if we're done. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is I got this whole background erased out. Next, I'm gonna go to my code, and if I press run, you see that it's up here in the sky. Okay, that's not what I want. So what I need to do is I need to adjust my X and my Y on line 2 here so that it moves down. So it's at 300 on the X. That's probably where I want it, maybe a little bit less. Okay, maybe like 290. Whoops. 290, maybe move it to the left a little bit. Remember our 0, 0 is up in the top left corner here. And then as far as my Y coordinates go, if I show my grid and I want to take the center of my image, I want to move it down to like, let's try 75 maybe. Press reset and run. Okay, I still need to move it down and I want to move it to the left a little bit more even. So I'm going to try 280 and then let's try 110 maybe. Okay, so not horrible, still maybe a little bit more. 265, maybe 145. Okay, there we go. So now my image. So we've got this kite added in. We've got our background removed. Okay, we set our rainbow kite animation on line 3. That's the only one that shows up. Okay, that we added in, and then we press reset and run, and that's what we've got. Okay. Recommendation on our next level. So if you get that at least put there on our next level, when we press finish here, if we go to this next level, okay, this is where we will add in something that's called scaling. So sprite scaling is going to change the scale, the overall scale of our original image to either be the same or double the size, half the size, whatever we want to change it to. The normal size would be sprite.scale equals 1. Half of it would be sprite.scale equals 0.5, and twice as big would be 2 instead of 0.5, okay? So it already includes our newly uploaded image from last time, but if that's not the perfect size and we want it to be a little bit bigger, we might change it by adding in this sprite.scale. Okay, the order of the code matters, so if we want to have it scaled, it needs to be after we've created the sprite, which is our set animation. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my sprites tab. I'm going to click this sprite.scale and I'm going to put it underneath line 3 and I'm going to put it on line 4. Now, again, in order to do our dot notation correctly, I need to change where it says sprite.scale to kite.scale. Okay, because that's what my variable's name is. And I'm going to change mine to just a little bit larger, so I'm going to change mine to 1.25. So that way it's just a little bit bigger. And now I press reset and run, and now my kite is that large. Actually, I'm going to change it to 1.15, just a little bit bigger, but not massive. That way it goes to the top of the screen, but not over the top of the screen. Okay? If you like the scale of your kite, you do not need to resize it. That one is just showing you how to change the scale of your object, of your sprite. So we would press finish there if we didn't want to change our sprite color. Okay? That was on number 11. I changed mine to 1.15. You can change yours to less than 1. That would make it smaller, or more than that. That would make it larger. For number 12 here, lesson 6, level 12, take your best guess on those and then press submit. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that, and I'm going to pause the recording. You can pause the video if you need to. For those of you in class, go ahead and do that. I'm going to give you about 2 or 3 minutes, okay? All right, so this one is lesson 6, level 13. So now we're going to add text. So this is what I added last time. So I'm going to refresh this just so that you can see. Okay. So it's adding text here to, it says change me and add another text block. So I'm just going to add Mr. Clark's classroom here in the block on line 2. Okay, and that's being put at the x coordinate of 50 and the y coordinate of 200. So if I take a look here, it's putting it on the bottom part of that. Okay, 50, 200 is right here. So that's where the text, like pretty much the line that we're drawing the text on, that's where that line is starting, is at 5200. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my drawing tab and I'm going to add in another text string. So go to the blue drawing tab, the light blue drawing tab, and drag out another text string underneath. Drag out another text string underneath, and then I'm just going to put room 111 here. And I'm going to make the x coordinate 50 as well, but I'm going to make the y coordinate 225 to drop it down 25. So it's still staying on this left aligned here on 50, but it's going to be at 225. So it's going to be right about there. Okay, so if I press reset and run, come on, Google Chrome. Reset and then run. And now I take my grid off. It did room 111 there. You can do a bunch of other things like changing the fill color. I can change the text size in pixels right here and see examples of that if I want to. All sorts of things with text, but at the very basics, that is what the text is. The default size is pretty small. Like I said, to change the text size, we use this text size block. We have to put it before. So right now it's set to 12. If I wanted it to be 24, I could do that and press reset and run. It's the exact same as like your Microsoft Word. If I put a fill before that, a fill color, that would change the color of everything below it. Okay, so that's text basics at its simplest. Go ahead and press finish. You don't need to add in that fill. You just need those 2 lines of code. Okay, this one this one is talking about the order of our blocks of code. So we have an issue here. We've got our blocks of code are not in the right order because we don't want the snake to show up in front of the bars and we don't want the greetings to show behind the gray bars. Okay, so if we look at our lines of code, almost always we want our sprites, this sprite line on 1 and 2, the creation of the variable and where it's going to be placed, and the actual the animation being set, those can always be on the top. That's not when we're actually drawing the actual sprite itself. It's just when we're creating the variable for it. Okay, so if we work from the back to the front, what shows up first? What do we want to show up first? The very first thing on the very back of the image. The what? The background, right? The background is, we want that to show up first. Okay, that's the very last. The background is what's going to be printed first, showing up behind everything else. So perfect. That's on line 3. That's the first thing that's showing up. Okay. Next what do we want to show up? So if we take a look over here, the snake, right? So what do I need to drag up behind or underneath background to the draw sprite, right? Because my sprite is being defined up here. This is making the variables. It's saying this is what's going to be drawn. But then all the way down here on line 13 right now is when it's actually being drawn. So we need to move that draw sprite up underneath background and then press reset and run. Now you do this when you're doing your code and when you're writing out your code. Press reset and run as many times as you want so that you can see, yep, that's where I want that draw sprite to happen. Nope, I want it behind that square. I want it behind that circle. Or I want it behind that image or that other sprite. Okay, you can choose where it's going, so don't make a bunch of changes, then press run and be like, what happened? Make small changes, run your code, see what got affected, and then if it's something that you didn't like, at least you didn't do 15 steps, you only did 2. Okay? So the next thing that we've got is we've got this no stroke, we've got this fill black, and then we've got text size. Okay, and then our actual text. Okay? We want this text to show up in front of everything, right? So where do I need to move that? Under where? Well, I want my text to show up. It's showing up on top of everything, so it's going to show up at the very end, right? So I moved text to the bottom here. Now, if I press reset and run, it changed it to gray. So what do I need to move with it? the fill black. Yep. And I might as well put the text size with it. It actually doesn't matter where that's at, just because text size is like anything else. As soon as I say text size is 50, any text that gets printed below it is 50 until I redefine text size. So if I put text size is 50, put text, and then I put text size is 24 after that, any text after that is then 24. Okay, same thing with my fill colors. If I do, so look at me. Okay, if I do my fill color is, so text size works this way, fill color works this way. If I do fill color red, and then I print out a square, a circle, a triangle, whatever I do, and then I do fill color yellow, all of those objects will be red still until I do other objects below it. So it's pretty much like as soon as you do fill color or text size, it's like you're dipping your paintbrush in that color, and it stays that color until you redip your brush and switch it. Okay, same thing with, that's fill color, that's text size, that's no stroke, all of those things. Okay, so that is the correct order that we should have for all of our objects. Okay, what's happening here on 5, it's making sure that these gray bars for the prison bars don't have a black border on them. That's what that no stroke is doing. And then it's changing the color to a dark gray, and then it's drawing those rectangles in. Okay, so that is 14. We can press finish there. Okay, 15. This one is just telling us before we go on to our next level to consider sketching out what we want our actual project or our scene to look like. So if we press run, it's showing like, here's what some objects look like in the back. They're doing 3 ellipses, then they've got 2 different sprites in there and 2 things of text. Okay, that's where I got my requirements for lesson 6, is a background, 3 shapes that are being added that are different, that are on top of the background. You've got 2 separate sprites and 2 lines of text. Okay, so that one we're not actually doing anything. We're just going to press finish. Now, if you take a look here, okay, I started with the other class. I started with my scene. Okay, so it says create your scene, drawing. You're going to start creating a scene of your own. If you haven't already, take a minute to sketch out a picture of your scene. Consider using graph paper. Like, if you want to, I can get you the worksheet for this. That gives you the grid. That's 400 by 400, so that you can chart it out if you want to. If not, you can just make it up as you go. Okay, once you have an idea for your plan of your scene, start drawing your background. Use a background command to fill your screen with color. Add any necessary shape commands to draw the non-sprite elements of your scene. Like I said, it needs to be 3 objects. So if I press run, this is the scene that I've created. Okay, I actually want to, looking at it right now, I'm going to create a no stroke before all of these, because I don't want my sun to have this black line there. So if I press reset and run, now that black line is gone. Now it just looks a little bit more clean, like it's an actual sun, because the sun doesn't have a black ring around it. So that created a no stroke for all of my other objects that are down here as well. I was telling my class last block that I'm going to create an object and I'm going to make it look like they're walking into what I want this to look like as a house with a chimney on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a door in the front here for your guys' class as well. Remember, since I'm using rectangles, it's still using that top left placement for those rectangles. So I have to consider that. So I use my grid a lot when I'm doing those so that I can see exactly where it's being placed. Okay, so I've got my background being set to green. Now, I told the other class this as well, that if I don't have a color that I can think of just by name, but I want to Google something like it, okay, I can Google the RGB value of that color and it will show up. So if I go to a new tab, and let's say that I want to make my door be let's say a light blue RGB color value is what I Google, okay? If I go into this and go to the first one that pops up there, bad choice, just kidding. Let's go to this. Perfect. Okay, so I pick like a light blue. I want it to be kind of like a tealish blue. So I pick this one. If I go down here on the bottom, so this is the blue that I want, okay? If I look underneath there, it says red is a value of 0, green is a value of 102, and blue is a value of 204. So 0, 102, 204. Okay? I go back to my code here. I'm just going to pop this out right now. So RGB. Nope, underneath. Underneath. Come on. It's not letting me do it. There we go. Ugh. It's driving me nuts. Okay. 0, 102. I forgot already. 204. Okay. 0, 102, 204. So now I go ahead and add in my rectangle. And I'm going to put my RGB in front of that. Why is it literally, it's trying to ruin my life. Okay. So now I press reset and run. Not what color I wanted. Just kidding. 0, 102, 204. Why are you doing this to me? Oh, that's why. Duh. I need to put in this fill. That's why. Fill, and then I click this, go down here, click RGB. 0. Wow. 0, 102, 204. There we go. There's my light blue square. Okay, so now I want it to show up if I click my show grid. Okay, I'm going to move my rectangle. I'm going to make my rectangle a lot smaller just so that I can see. Okay, so my rectangle is there. I want it to look like a door, so I click my grid, and I'm going to have it show up at X 200, Y 300. So I'm going to click in here, 200, 300, because so that's going to make it show up here. Now I need to make it, my width is first, my height is second. So my width is going to be 50, my height is going to be 100. Okay, so there's my door. Okay, and I'm actually going to move it over 1 pixel to the left. I'm going to have it show up at 199. That way it covers up that little bit there. Oh, just kidding. That was the other piece. Okay, I'm actually going to move it in a little bit. I'm going to make it 210. That way it's a little bit off so that it looks like it's got a little bit of a trim. Okay, so there's my door. I could put a circle on it. I could put a handle on it. I could put a clear square over the top of it and make it look like it's got a little window at the top. I could add a window to the house. I could add like the beams through the windows if I wanted to, all with rectangles. I could add a tremendous amount of detail. Okay, but I don't. That's not my expectation of you guys. My expectation is just 3 objects. Okay, three different shapes being placed wherever you want. Okay, you don't have to do the RGB color fill. Okay, you can do preset colors that are already in there. Okay, dark gray, blue, purple, orange, red, yellow, green. Okay, all of those different ones. And if the color doesn't show up, then you do that fill RGB, and then you can search the color RGB code. Okay, as soon as you're done with this one, so that's just creating your scene. Okay, that's these first 2 bullets, the background and then the 3 shapes added on top of the background. Okay, next you're going to add in your sprites. Okay, what you're going to do, just do this now, add in this variable sprite, the sprite set animation, add in another one, add in a sprite set animation. Okay, what that's going to do is it's going to set your 2 sprite set animations, and then you just need to pick them. So if I wanted to make this quick, I could pick 2 objects. Let's say that I'm going to have a vehicle. I'm going to have a little helicopter fly over the top, something like that. A little plane. My background is green, so I'm going to pick the yellow plane. Okay, I'm going to rename it plane yellow. Okay, I go back to my sprite, I call it yellow plane. My sprite's being made at 200, 200. We'll see if that works out. But first, we're going to name this the same, yellow plane. I'm going to set my sprite animation to yellow plane. And I'm going to just go ahead and run. Just kidding. What didn't I do? I didn't draw it, right? Okay, I need to move this out quick. And I'm going to move this one out. Okay, so there's my yellow plane. Okay, I'm going to move them up because 200, 200 is not going to work. 200 is going to be fine as far as the x coordinate, but it needs to be moved up probably to about 300. So I changed that y coordinate. Just kidding. Moved up. It needs to be 100. Edward. Dumb. Okay. Move it up. I'm going to try 75 instead of this. Okay. There it is. Okay. There's my little plane. Okay. Maybe my next one that I'm going to do is I'm going to have this little alien on the ground or a different object. So I'm going to go to my sprites, click my variable sprite, sprite set animation. I go to my animations tab, click the plus. Let's pick an animal. I'm going to have there's like 3 tabs of them too. So there's a bunch. And let's do a relief effort here and let's do a little cute kangaroo. Okay, I'm just going to name it kangaroo. That's what I'm going to name it here. I'm going to name it here, kangaroo. My set sprite animation is going to be the kangaroo. Okay, I press run. My kangaroo is massive. I need to make them smaller. I go to my, actually, you know what? Instead of doing it in my animation, I'm going to do it in my code. Okay, so I can do a sprite scale, and I'm going to make the kangaroo sprite scale animation. I'm going to set it to 0.5. So I'm going to make it half the size. There's my kangaroo substantially smaller. Okay, now I need to move the center of the kangaroo down to here. Okay, so if I hovered over, it says x83, y315. Let's just try and put that in, 83, 315. Go here, 83, 315, run. That's where it's at. I'm going to move it down a little bit, but I like the spacing. So let's move it. Let's try 340. Too far. Maybe 330. Perfect-ish. Okay. So still pretty simple. Doesn't really make sense, but that's fine. Okay. I've got my sprite. I've got my animations in here. I've got my variable for my sprite being made. I set the animation to the yellow plane. My variable for my kangaroo, my x and y for the kangaroo. I set my animation to the kangaroo. I had to make it smaller, so I did kangaroo.scale. And then I draw sprites at the end because I want them to show up on top. Okay, the draw sprites at the end means that it's the last thing being done. Okay, if I move this draw sprites somewhere else, it's going to show up somewhere else. Okay, so that's 17. Then for 18, you're doing 2 lines of text. So I might say, all I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my text, final piece, add text command for each separate line of text. If necessary, use fill and text size. Okay, so I press run here. I might put something right here in this space or something right here in this space. Okay, what I could do is getting some ideas here. I'm going to move my plane over here, and then I'm going to make some of my text look like it's being drugged by the plane. So I'm going to move my plane over to 350 instead of 200. See what that looks like. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to put my line of text right here at 151.77. Okay, so I'm going to go to drawing. I'm going to put text in underneath my background. Help Australia battle wildfires. 151.77, I think. I might be wrong. No, that was right. Okay, so there's my text. Now what I need to do is I need to do a fill color. Pick like a black or a blue, maybe a red. Okay, I'm going to change the text size down here on the bottom, text size. Let's change it to 18. Let's see how big that is. Reset and run. Okay, I need to move my X coordinate of my text over, maybe 115 instead of 151. Still not far enough. Let's try 85. Okay, it's behind my sun now, so I need to move my text down below my sun ellipse. So that's right here. I press run. Need to move my fill for my color down, my text size down. Okay, I need to move it over a little bit more. 75. Okay, there it is. I'm going to change this from red to black so that it shows up better. And I'm going to change my text size to 20. I'm going to move it over yet again. Ah. Text size, fill, yeah, okay. I'm going to move it over by 50. Okay, there's my text up at the top. Help Australia battle wildfires. Okay. And then maybe above the kangaroo here, I'm going to say, we need your help. Okay, so that one doesn't really matter where it's at because as long as it's in front of the background, it's going to be fine. So I take my text string. Let's just put it here. We need your help. Exclamation mark. I want it to show up right here. So I look at my X and Y. It says 16,237. 16,237. I press reset and run. That's where it's showing up. I'm going to change the color and make it a little bit bigger. Fill color. I'm going to make it black. I'm going to do my text size and I'm going to make it 20 as well. Okay, and there it is. Okay. One last thing. I'm going to move this over a few more. My exclamation mark was getting hidden. Okay. But if you notice, okay, a lot of little minor changes throughout, adjusting the X and the Y just to make it work. Okay, adding in the text color. I had to move my text around because it popped up behind the sun. Then I noticed that the sun was coloring my text, so I had to move my text color down, and then I moved my text size down. All sorts of different things like that. So this is the one that you're going to screenshot. Okay, you can take bits and pieces from mine if you'd like, but it cannot be the exact same. Okay, if you need it as an example though, there's an example for you. You can go ahead and press finish, and when you're done with it, after you've taken the screenshot, a reminder that I want your display, so I need to see this over here on the left, so I need to see what it looks like instead of just your code for this one. So I need this whole thing. I need your code output, your actual code, all of yours being completed, and then make sure that you show that you're the one that's logged in. All right, so that's lesson 6, level 18. Okay, the requirements are on Google Classroom.